the slippery slope theory, knowing what I know now about what happened to the Pride movement, the LGBT movement, going back, would I have still supported gay, not that I was old enough to vote back then, but would I still support gay marriage? Of course, absolutely. But I think I would have been very vocal about warning people, okay, this is a great win for, let's just do a bottom line, same human rights for everybody. What you don't have the right to is to compel people's speech, to compel people's actions or business. You don't have the right to force somebody to bake you a cake. You don't have the right to get married in a religious ceremony. You don't have the right to force anyone to give you their time, their labor, or their acceptance, because they really don't have to like you.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Undoctrination. I'm Maggie.
And I'm Olivia, and I am returning from my social media break.
Woo! We are finally back this week, and it is June 20th as of the time that we're filming, which means we are just over halfway through Pride Month, and that is what we would like to talk about today. How's everything going, Olivia?
I just want to get the rest of it over with. I'm tired of it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm tired of it. And I think a lot of people are facing Pride Month fatigue, even other LGBT people, I think, because I think people are trying to, I guess people are realizing what the corporations are trying to do here, which is just kind of, pandering for money, not really for any social justice types of reasons, but that's just my take on it. What do you think?
Definitely. So the reason we wanted to film this episode is because I think corporations' Pride Month is completely over as of this year. Bud Light definitely released their campaign a little too early because the backlash they faced over the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light can advertisement definitely put a pin in a lot of corporations' Pride Month celebrations.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the news, but literally Starbucks, like the most liberal, lefty corporation of all time. Pronoun pens galore, removed all of their Pride displays from stores.
That one was surprising to me, but yeah, I think Bud Light kind of set the tone for, because they did their little Dylan Mulvaney campaign before June actually started, so they set the tone for the corporations going forward because people are tired of it. And I think people become increasingly more tired of it when it's like, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like out of the LGBTQIA2S plus, whatever the acronym is now, the focus heavily this past year has been on the T, which is like a minuscule percentage of the general population. It's much smaller than gay and bisexual people. And to me, it honestly has nothing to do with gay and bisexual people because that has to do with sexual orientation. That has to do with who you fall in love with or who you're attracted to. Really nothing to do with thinking that you're a gender, not identifying with the gender that you're born with, or transitioning from one to the other, or non-binary, or somewhere in between. But that's kind of besides the point. I think, especially places like Starbucks. First of all, let me preface by saying, if a blue-haired they, them is not making my coffee at Starbucks, I don't want it, okay? They make... because I drink
best coffee.
Because I drink like the soy boy, little sissy boy coffee.
Wait, what's your Starbucks coffee order?
A venti iced matcha with light ice and 7 scoops of matcha and 1 pump of sweetener.
Okay, period.
So anyways, if their name is not Kai or Asher and they don't have them giant glasses and a pronouns pen, I don't want it. But that being said, Starbucks has also been in the news because I believe in New York, I think they're based in New York if I'm not mistaken, but so many Starbucks have been, they're attempting to unionize, and a lot of them have closed temporarily because they've been faced with walkouts because they want to raise the minimum wage, they want to unionize. And this is the thing about those lefty progressive corporations like Starbucks. They actually only care about their bottom line. So they hired all these they, thems and put up the flags in the stores, and now there's no flags in the stores anymore. But they're not going to give you $20 minimum wage, sweetie. No. They're not. So it kind of, I wanted to bring up a couple other companies too, because another company that got hit with backlash was Adidas, especially their women's Pride swimsuit line that was modeled by a biological male.
You're joking. Wait, but was it a trans woman or was it just like a man in a woman's swimsuit?
I actually tried to find the name of the model so I could see who, like, you know, what their identity was. I could not find the name. It seemed to have been scrubbed from the designer's, because I went to the designer's Instagram page for that line. I couldn't find it. But the specific swimsuit in the women's section, not in a transgender section, not in any type of, you know, special section, in the women's section, they had a tuck swimsuit. So that is for people with male anatomy to basically fit into a little bikini bottom. And people got mad at that. And I think rightfully so, because why do women, I don't know, we don't even have real pockets on our clothing. We're already advancing to pockets in the bikinis.
Underwear pockets.
Yeah. We don't need it. Nobody asked for it. Nobody wants it. It's kind of crazy. And Adidas is another one of those corporations that it's like, you know, would you want to work in an Adidas sweatshop? Would you want to work in an Adidas factory? No. Like, obviously they're not the most.
No, there's no real social justice going on with a lot of these companies.
No, they're not the most progressive corporation as they function, but it's these values that they push out that are giving off this inclusion.
Have you ever seen those graphics of, you know, I haven't seen the major profile picture shift for a lot of corporations. You know, every June, usually it's like 100 corporations change their profile pictures on social media to something with rainbows incorporated. I haven't seen that this year, but in previous years, a really funny trend to take note of is when a company has branches in several different countries, they'll change their profile pictures to the rainbow one in all of the Western countries. And then for like the Middle Eastern branches, it just stays the same.
Because they don't actually care. They don't want to make a stand where it would actually mean something or change something for social justice. You know, they do it when it's super easy and super convenient for them. And now that it's not necessarily as convenient or profitable for them because people are starting to be tired of it, suddenly they don't care about social justice anymore. Suddenly, a lot of these companies that were, you know, usually changing their profile picture or making a Pride post every year, they're suddenly not anymore.
Pride Month is so over. It's so over. Which I don't necessarily blame companies for wanting to make a profit. That's kind of the entire point, right? It's just that I prefer they don't get into the weeds on social or political issues. To me, Pride Month wasn't that political in the past, though. It seems like in the past few years, it's really picked up into this whole frenzy, specifically with gender ideology. But I remember Pride Month, like way back when, you know, we've talked about this on the podcast. My mom married a woman when I was like 13 years old, right? It was illegal in Louisiana, but there were Pride parades. And at that time, Pride actually meant something to me, right? It really was kind of this countercultural thing for lesbians, gay men, and bisexual people, right? And it was kind of an FU to the establishment saying, you know, like, if you don't want to give us rights, we don't care. We're going to, you know, come out and celebrate anyways. And at that point, that was meaningful. And then somewhere around like 2018, maybe that time period, Pride just became like this oversaturated month of just rainbows everywhere and every corporation ever putting out rainbow merch and everything. And it just seemed to kind of lose that countercultural edge that it once had.
It's very much the mainstream culture promoted by, you know, the Biden administration, all the large corporations. It's like once the government, every single billionaire's corporation and company in the world is supporting this, then it's like, am I really on the side of this anymore? It's not to say I changed my mind about gay rights or anything, but it's just like when they started to push specifically what I look at as a fantasy, because obviously we have transgender colleagues and friends. We had Sarah Higdon, who was on here, who would acknowledge that as a self-identified trans woman, that she is a biological male who identifies and lives life as a trans woman, but she's not a biological woman. And she acknowledges that reality. But the type of pride and, I guess, trans ideology that's pushed by corporations is that there's literally no discernible difference between a trans woman or a biological male who identifies as a woman to a biological woman. And so these swimsuits with a pocket for a male genitalia, these are in the women's section. If you go to Target, they also have the swimsuits with the pocket for the male genitalia in the Pride section. And there was some controversy about the Target Pride section too. I've read that in the South and certain Southern locations, they've removed it entirely after people were protesting. And in certain other locations, it used to be near the front, near the entrance of the store. Now they've moved it to the back of the store because there was some controversy, I believe, with it being placed near the children's section. I don't know if there was the swimsuits specifically were for children, but there was like baby onesies and stuff like that in the section that had like queer on it. And
that was weird.
It's a little strange.
Your 2-year-old toddler doesn't need to wear a onesie that says queer, although do what you want. I don't know.
Like that's your kid, but it's weird.
But there was this video going around that was like, oh my gosh, they're putting tucking swimsuits in the kids section. According to the Target spokespeople, that was not a thing. And so a lot of the outrage with Target was about this specific video and people thinking that there were like tucked whatever swimsuits for children. I don't think that was a real thing. Nevertheless, Target did receive boycotts and I'm sure lost out on some money, as did Bud Light. I think their sales dropped by like 30%, which is really, that's their profit margin. So they're really screwed. And it's weird because in the past, like obviously a lot of conservative Christians have had problems with corporations celebrating Pride Month. That's always been a thing, but it really does seem like in the past year, the right has really centered their attention on this one specific issue. And we've talked about in the past, I don't necessarily think it's the one issue we should be focused on. I think there are a lot of important things happening right now. And we've also kind of forgotten that COVID lockdowns were a thing. We've just bypassed that. But now it does seem like conservatives have actually rallied and are actually participating in boycotts and ones that are actually effective, which I don't think we've seen in a really long time.
Yeah.
And one question I wanted to pose to you, and we can dig more into what this actually is will capitalism and the force of boycotts beat out ESG? Because really there's a reason that a lot of these corporations have been pushing more left-wing things, and it's so that they have higher ESG scores and therefore can access more investment capital. But it does seem like since Bud Light got hit pretty badly, since Target got hit, that a lot of companies are just like, let's steer clear of this and not even dip our toes in the water on this issue.
Yeah, it is interesting because at first, a lot of this, especially with the inclusion of, or I guess pushing to the forefront, honestly, a lot of issues, specifically like trans women and in the forefront of like the Pride movement and kind of pushing it on everybody, that seemed like, I was like, is the market really calling for this? Like, are people really like, here's my money, like here I want to buy a tuck swimsuit, because that seemed very unnatural to me. So yeah, at some point I think that the market is like, nobody's buying this, people are actually actively protesting and actively boycotting it, just stop. So I obviously there will be some companies that are genuinely woke and genuinely want to push this crap, but for the most part, I mean, Target, Starbucks. I
think Target might be one of them, though, because I feel like Target has been doing the Pride stuff before everybody else.
They have, but they did pull their displays from several of their stores. So whether it's like protests or boycotts. I have seen a report that, and if this is true, this is really abhorrent, but I have seen a report that Target made a statement that basically they pulled some of these displays for the safety of store employees, saying that they were getting death threats. I don't know I haven't verified that.
The legitimacy.
Yeah, I don't know if that's legitimate or if it's just because people were protesting and they weren't profitable. Because I can't imagine at the Target in Mobile, Alabama, they're buying up all the tuck swimwear. But maybe.
Who knows? I will say people are genuinely crazed about this issue on both sides.
Yeah.
Like, I can fully imagine. There was this one video of this guy walking through a Target somewhere in Arizona, like punching the signs or whatever. It was really dumb.
I did see
Turns
that.
out he was in the closet. Like, multiple gay men in Arizona confirmed that they had been messaging with him on Grindr.
Oh.
But yeah,
I feel like that's usually how it
tale
goes.
as old as time.
When they're they're super aggressive and they take it personally, yeah, I think that's a little projection on their part. But yeah, in terms of back to the ESG question, it's becoming less and less popular. Now I see the phrase, what is it? Go woke, get broke. I see that everywhere now. Even if something to me, I don't even personally perceive it as woke. I like yesterday was Juneteenth, for example, and there was a company page that just came across. Like it was a promoted ad on Facebook, and it was just like, happy Juneteenth. And there was comments, and they were like, "Get woke, go broke," and I was like, "Is that woke? I don't know.
Is Juneteenth woke? I don't know.
It's weird."
I was telling you this the other day. Like, I really had not heard of Juneteenth, but then again, like,
Yeah, I mean, it's a holiday that originated in Texas. It is now a federal holiday. And of course, it means something a little bit different to the Black American community. And it was I would say probably more isolated to Texas and to Southern Black Americans for decades, because it's been around for the holiday has been around since, I guess, slaves were actually told they were freed in Texas. But in surrounding states, people were still enslaved for, I believe, a few years after that. So that's why I think that's where, if there's legitimate criticism of Juneteenth, maybe that's where it should come from, being like, okay, well, this wasn't the actual date that every single slave in America was freed. But then again, we celebrate.
Yeah, but what's wrong with Juneteenth? I don't understand.
We celebrate Christmas on December 25th. Was Jesus actually born on December 25th? Probably not. Probably not, but that's a significant date for Christians. And I don't think it's woke to choose a different date than Jesus actually was born. So I don't think it's woke to celebrate Juneteenth. I actually find it really, really strange when libertarians of all people call it woke, because it's like, aren't you all about liberation and anti-big government and freedom and justice for all and da-da-da-da-da? It does seem very weird when I hear that. I think at that point, it's a little bit reactionary, because I hear anything that has to do with race, or anyone that's really not white.
Gender, sexuality, any of that. If you go anywhere near it, it's suddenly woke. It's quite frustrating.
It's a knee-jerk reaction. And on some level, I get it, kind of, because there has been a lot of stuff shoved down everyone's throat. But this is not a holiday saying that white people are racist. This is not an anti-white holiday. This is celebrating being free from slavery. This is like, I celebrate July 4th. I'm a patriot. I'm happy to be in the United States, but were my Black ancestors free on July 4th? No. So I celebrate that Independence Day. I also celebrate Juneteenth. I was out yesterday celebrating for Juneteenth, and I celebrate both. I think that's fine. I will go out for July 4th in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think any holiday celebrating, liberation and freedom is good in my
And it's
book.
a federal holiday, so the federal government was shut down. That's let's make every day a federal holiday. Let's keep racking them up. Let's shut it all down for 365 federal holidays.
Olivia, oh my gosh, we're so back. We're so back.
Guys, we're so back.
Olivia gonna be making me crack up every week again. I'm so happy.
We're so back.
Man, I missed you.
I missed you too. Oh my God, let me tell these people just a little disclaimer, because I told you this before we actually went live on our planning call. But yesterday when I went out, and I don't think it was an indoctrination listener, because I think these people have some common sense, but I was recognized at this one bar, and I will just say, if you do happen to come across me or Maggie in public, say hi, take a picture. That part was cool. Don't get all touchy and feely and beg me for your number, because that was really weird. It made me uncomfortable. But I think it was a Twitter follower, not an indoctrination listener.
Yeah, y'all, the story she told me earlier,
full story was like,
I was just like, I am having serious like secondhand embarrassment.
The full story was like rated really R, bad. But yeah, I won't go into it because I don't want to call this guy out, because I think he was drunk, so he's probably kicking himself, like remembering what he did this morning. But it was kind of unsafe, so I had to leave. But yeah. Just putting that out there, because we're real people. You know, I'm not a celebrity, so I was very taken aback by that much attention.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But
the full story is incredible.
But the reason I thought about that was because the funny part was he started talking crap about Juneteenth while he was like harassing me. So I was like, okay, but yeah.
Weird. Yeah, I saw a lot of that happening on Twitter yesterday. I know Candace Owens called it, what did she call it?
She called it a ghetto
holiday.
What? I have some thoughts on that I shouldn't share, honestly, on this podcast. But yeah, that's a horrible take. I'll just say that. That's horrid.
I understand the knee-jerk reaction, because I feel like people are kind of tired of all of the corporations and the media and everything just being dominated by like wokeism. But not everything is woke, if that makes sense. Like, in my opinion, the traditional rainbow flag is now conservative in comparison to like the progress flag that has that little triangle or whatever, you know.
The black and brown stripe, because apparently black and brown people couldn't be gay before that flag took place. And you were telling me about how down in Atlanta, you generally see the traditional flag, right?
Yeah.
And Atlanta is very heavily black, and also it's one of like the gay meccas of America. It's like San Francisco is for white gays and Atlanta's for black gays, right? Anyways, but Atlanta knows that black gays have always been included. They don't need the black and brown stripe. They don't need the transgender triangle. It's just gay. Gay is gay. Which is funny, because I know a lot of gay people who feel this way, but I feel like the majority of them are black gay people. Maybe it's because black people in general tend to be a little bit more socially conservative in this country, especially Southern ones who, whether they're gay or not, they probably were raised in the church either way. But they feel the same type of way that I do about the T being kind of pushed to the forefront, when the issue used to be, we want gay marriage, we want, you know, to be able to walk around and not get harassed and be called slurs. Like, that's kind of what they wanted to do. Now it's going, it's just crazy now. It's literally just crazy now.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people reference the slippery slope recently. And I just want to say, like, most reasonable people are fine with, a lot of people aren't fine with the term marriage being used, but like civil unions, like, a marriage that's recognized by the state so you get all of the benefits. I think most people are completely fine with that. Yeah. And I don't think having gay marriage...
Statistics show that the majority of registered Republicans even support gay marriage now. Yeah. It's not like 99%, but I believe it was like 60 or 70% that are for legally recognized gay marriage. So it's like, what else do you want? What else do you want? Yeah. They're allowed to get married. They're allowed to adopt. What else do you want? I mean, I guess they want people to bake cakes for them now. That's what it is.
Right. I think a conversation that's focused on rights, so everyone having equal rights and access to things, is great. It's when the conversation starts steering towards restructuring society and human nature that people have a problem. And we're like far down that path at this point. Although I don't necessarily think the two are correlated. I think there were probably just a lot of really radical people participating in the fight that just kept
going. It unfortunately became more mainstream over time. So like, the slippery slope theory, knowing what I know now about what happened to the Pride movement, the LGBT movement, going back, would I have still supported gay, not that I was old enough to vote back then, but would I still supported gay marriage? Of course, absolutely. But I think I would have been very vocal about warning people, okay, this is a great win for, let's just do a bottom line, same human rights for everybody. What you don't have the right to is to compel people's speech, to compel people's actions or business. You don't have the right to force somebody to bake you a cake. You don't have the right to get married in a religious ceremony. You don't have the right to force anyone to give you their time, their labor, or their acceptance, because they really don't have to like you. And as somebody who is looking the way I do, like I am a racial minority, and I feel like I saw this post. It was an article, and it was, this LGBT realtor in Texas is helping LGBT people on the Underground Railroad out of Texas. And as it's
called the Rainbow Underground Railroad. That's what they called it.
Like as racial minorities, like you were born that way, you go around life looking that way. And of course my ancestors, did go through slavery and stuff like that. So it's just like, it's insane to me that like some random white guy or white girl or whoever, somebody who, is visibly like no different than the majority of the population, can go around walking through life and then come out as gay, and now you're an automatic victim. Now you have to escape on the Underground Rainbow Railroad. What the heck? That's a Mario Kart track, first of all. So what the heck?
I can't stop thinking about the Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow. I used to love that show. But literally, what the heck are they talking about? Like, Texas, it's so funny.
Well, they said it's because there are a bunch of anti-LGBT laws being passed in states like Texas.
And then you ask them what those laws are, and it's like, you can't sterilize your 4-year-old. And they're like, oh my God.
Oh no.
They start melting like the wicked witch of the West or whatever. And it's like, we just said don't be a pedophile, and you took that personally. So.
Yeah. There were several pride parades actually canceled in Florida because Florida is now unsafe for LGBT people because of Ron DeSantis or something. The bills they're referring to when they're, crying about anti-LGBT laws usually are don't sterilize your children and, regulating drag queen events. Like, those are usually the two things. Both have to do with kids. I do understand that some people out there will use the kid narrative to, like, try to, suppress all gay people and all trans people and all drag queens. I understand that is a real thing out there, but the majority of people just want you to leave their kids alone.
Yeah. And obviously there are people who are reactionary and are already violent, unstable people. So when they see a cause to be violent and unstable, whether that be, perceptions of everyone who is gay is a pedophile, or everyone who's black is a criminal, or any really stereotype like that, they go out and they do horrible things. That's not Ron DeSantis' fault. That's not the Florida government's fault.
Also, why do we keep having all ages drag shows that are sexually explicit? Why do you keep doing that? Like, I don't understand why I keep seeing new videos of events like that happening. Like, just stop it. Why are you reinforcing narratives that are harming you?
Because that's who they are. That's who they are. That's who they are. But, before anyone says anything, because I've seen this as a counter attack a lot, or counter argument. Well, what about Hooters? What about pageants for little girls? I think all of those things are bad. I do think taking a young child to Hooters is a little weird. And I think that pageants are very, very weird. Like, to see a little girl in full wig wig, makeup, doing a little dance on stage. I don't like that toddlers and tiaras type stuff either. Mm-hmm. But what I've never seen at Hooters or one of these events is somebody miming a sex act or grinding on children or singing very sexually explicit lyrics like to children. I've never seen those things. And if it is happening, that's abhorrent. But a lot of these drag shows are the equivalent to a strip or burlesque show. And, you know, in the heterosexual world, children are not allowed of those. For all of a sudden, it's homophobic to say that, hey, this is basically a man doing burlesque. That's fine if you want to do that. I actually used to watch RuPaul's Drag Race like all the time. Yeah. So it's not like a moral issue that I have with like drag as an art form or whatever, or as entertainment. But it's like, I know how inappropriate it is because I've seen it before. So just stop with the kids.
Yeah. I also used to love watching RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
I actually watched it on the plane flying back from Argentina, and it definitely helped me pass the time.
Really?
I was like, dang, if anyone on Twitter sees me watching this, I'm going to get canceled.
My favorites are Sasha Velour. I remember when she won her season, and then Bob the Drag Queen are my two favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, was it Raja that I always really liked? Let me look them up. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I used to love watching that show growing up. I also don't think it's weird for like a 16-year-old to go to a drag show. I don't think most of them are that explicit either, but I do think it's kind of weird.
It's just I wouldn't want a 16-year-old, and because a lot of these are like drag brunches or drag bars, like there's alcohol served. You know, depending on the time of day or night, the show gets a little bit raunchier. So I would just, 18 and up, 21 and up, just like a burlesque show is, just like a normal bar is, just keep it for the adults. Just keep it, and then they make the argument, well, drag queen story hours, those aren't sexually explicit. It's just, somebody sitting there as a drag performer sitting there reading a book. But what books are they reading? Because I've seen a couple that are very suspect where it's like just pushing like LGBTQIA plus on all these kids. And two, in a world where these kids, sometimes starting in kindergarten and elementary school now in public schools, they're being told you can pick your gender, you can be whatever you want to be, like this person could be a man, a woman, somewhere in between. I do think that's confusing for kids.
That's hella confusing. Yeah. I don't necessarily think, I wouldn't want to restrict another parent's option to take their kid to a drag queen story hour. I don't care that much. Yeah. I do, however, you're absolutely right. There have been multiple recordings released from like teachers' calls, and then there was a recording that just came out of England of these kids like pushing back on this narrative the teacher was pushing.
Really?
And the teacher just like went super hard against this kid, which is really weird. That's what I have a problem with, because yes, you're absolutely right. Pushing these narratives on kids is very confusing for them.
It's so
very, very confusing.
Kids don't even know what they want to have for lunch. I don't either, but
no. Also, they always are saying that they are something else. Like for years, my little sister has been a bunny, and I'll literally go over there and she starts making bunny noises, and it's really cute, but like we don't think that she's a bunny.
You need to affirm,
right?
You need to affirm her identity and support her transition.
Yeah. Into bunny.
It'd be cute. No, but that's where we're headed, because I don't know if y'all, I know you were on Tumblr about 10 years ago, and now I think this particular phenomenon is making a resurgence on TikTok, but with all the neo pronouns, and there's actually kids, but people think it started with TikTok. No, I saw this on Tumblr in like 2012.
Yes.
People were identifying as rabbits, foxes, vampires, witches. It's
bugs.
Yeah, bug and bug self. Those are their pronouns.
Wolves is a really popular one for some reason.
Yeah, they pick things that make them feel cool. Like you'll never see like groundhog or whatever. You'll see like fairy, wolf, cat, like the cool ones. But, the Tumblr kids, they basically grew up out of it. So that's why you don't see a lot of adults identifying as bug and bug self today. But the new 12-year-olds of this generation are again. So that's the fun part.
Honestly, let them be. I wish that their content wasn't getting spread out to the entire world, because like, what harm is it if like a 14-year-old who's into reading comic books wants to pretend to be a bug?
But listen, here's where the harm comes in.
I don't know if that's that
because
bad.
10 years ago when this was happening, nobody took any of that seriously. Non-binary was not taken seriously. Transgenderism, people living as transsexual, was like accepted back then. But beyond that, like if you told somebody you were a demi boy, if you were genderqueer, if you were non-binary, nobody took it seriously. Now, all those labels that are just kind of like people identifying as not male or female, but kind of male or kind of female or somewhere in between, or sometimes both, or sometimes one or the other, those are being more and more accepted every day. So yeah, in theory, a kid going online and being like, call me bug and bug self, that I don't care. But now we're living in the affirmation age. I think that'll become a real problem. I do.
And getting back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, I do think affirmation age is over. Outside of, super left-wing circles and everything.
I know, on that Rainbow Underground Railroad, they're going to affirmation camp.
I really think parents are freaked out, and a lot of people that are even moderates, like not conservatives, are now not okay with what's happening, which is why we're seeing these massive boycotts and why it's actually working. And I do think corporate Pride Month is over. And to be honest, I think ESG might be as well. And just backtracking a little bit, for those who don't know, ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Corporate Governance. And it got started back in 2004, I believe, by the UN. And it was this...
Of course.
It was this theory of social change that you could use corporations to change society. And make it better. And so they started rating companies based on how well they complied with like labor regulations, and also how socially progressive they were. And they were given a score out of 100. And then a lot of investment firms started embracing ESG and used that to make investment decisions. I'm sure some people knew this was going on, especially people that were working in the finance sector, but I had no idea what this was before maybe a year ago. But the enemy you don't know is always more dangerous than the enemy that you do. So people now understand what ESG is and can target and fight ESG measures, because for the longest time we were just like, how did all of these corporations suddenly go woke? Like, what profit motive are they following?
It did. Like I said, it did not seem like people were being like, here's my money, I want the tuck swimsuits. It seemed very unnatural, very forced. And we're like, what is this driving force behind this corporate push? And now all of a sudden, all the DEI officers, all the diversity, equity, and inclusion people, and every single corporation making sometimes $500,000 a year. Like I've been on LinkedIn, on my little job search. I'm seeing starting positions for DI officers at like $350,000 for large corporations, for government positions. And you're like, what are they, how are they spending this money? Like, where is it coming from?
Crazy.
ESG.
That is crazy.
That's the motivation. It's insane.
But I do think, so I was doing some research on ESG for a short that I wrote. I think it's already out. And according to Harvard Business Review, they did a study of these ESG investment firms and the companies they're supporting, these investment portfolios, and they're not really doing better financially. And also, they aren't necessarily performing better with environmental rules or labor rules. So ESG just seems kind of, like it's going to flounder eventually.
We talked about this a few episodes ago, actually a couple months ago at this point, but whenever Silicon Valley Bank collapsed, at the time of its collapse, they were focused on all these ESG, diversity, equity, and inclusion projects. The one lady who was, I believe, the UK's chief of financial risk for the company at the time of the collapse, she was using this to create like a message board for youth to come out on the Silicon Valley website, like as if anyone wants to do that, and doing all these
launching my coming out on a bank discussion
it really
board.
didn't make any sense, but she was launching all of these like LGBT initiatives, like what's going on? But yeah, and then they collapsed, and then they collapsed. So yeah, clearly it's not worth it to be that.
Well, what it does is it distorts the profit motive that typically guides company decision making. So it adds in this extra layer of complexity and guides the hand of the people running these corporations in directions they naturally wouldn't go to. And like I said, they don't necessarily perform better with labor or environmental rules, which I could see people being like, oh, well, that's good. Like, treat your employees well, da-da-da-da. But, like, that's not really happening. Really, the place we're seeing it the most is with left-wing positions, which is now starting to hurt these companies and hurt their profits, especially Bud Light. Gotta reiterate. 30% loss in sales. They haven't recovered yet. Unbelievable.
This happened like months ago, right? This happened like April, I think.
Yeah.
They have not recovered.
I still can't believe Dylan Mulvaney was the catalyst.
Bruh. It was only a matter of time because Dylan has had like dozens of ad campaigns and partnerships, holding up Tampax, holding up different products. But once they came for Bud Light, the target demographic doesn't really mess with Dylan Mulvaney.
No, women tend to be okay, or even like Dylan Mulvaney, right? Like it's mostly men that I've found that have been pissed off. Although, like once you get into this conservative woman demographic, they're very pissed off
offended.
About Dylan Mulvaney.
But like it's crazy that Tampax didn't go under, but that's a little bit different.
I'm not shocked at that.
It is different because women are different, and also Tampax is like a hygiene product, so people will buy it either way. It's not necessarily like Bud Light's not a necessity, really. But you know what? More companies, who they should emulate? Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is not open on Sundays. They're a religious, faith-based company. I believe that they donate to Christian organizations, and people have construed that as anti-gay. But first of all, anytime I go into Chick-fil-A, there's like at least 3 obviously gay employees there. So that tells me what I need. Again, I'm not going to get the nuggets if it's not made by some little gay friendly boy saying my pleasure, because I love it. Okay, that's why I go to Chick-fil-A. But they treat everybody with respect. They don't deny you service if you're gay. They clearly hire gay people. They're the most polite fast food chain. They have really consistent orders. If it's not consistent, they'll give you a whole free order.
The product they're offering is amazing.
And it's enough that they don't even have to be open on Sunday, on a weekend, where it's probably one of the most busiest days for fast food. So every company should be like Chick-fil-A. They don't do that pandering stuff. They don't care. They don't care about your opinion.
They stick to their values.
They stick to their values. And gay people, and a lot of, I won't even say gay people as a whole, but woke people, they boycott Chick-fil-A all the time. And they still are one of the most popular fast food chains in America. So be like Chick-fil-A.
Be like Chick-fil-A. Yeah. It's kind of shocking that Chick-fil-A has never really suffered that much.
The product is enough.
It's pretty impressive.
Capitalism is enough.
Honestly, that's true. The product is fire, so...
And they just came back out with that peach shake for summertime, so you know where I'm finna go.
Yeah, although I can tell you've been offline. Oh, by the way, Olivia took a social media break for several weeks. Olivia, Chick-fil-A almost got canceled as well due to conservative boycotts.
What did they do?
Because they hired a DEI. They hired a DEI person or instituted a department or something.
Oh.
We'll see.
I was not aware of that. Okay, so do everything Chick-fil-A is doing besides that, because they don't need to do that. Like we just said, the product speaks for itself. Anytime I go there, the drive-through line is wrapped around the block. So,
and it's always in the most confusing configuration or whatever. Despite
the fact that it's confusing, those little gay boys be out there with the iPads ready to take your orders. So my pleasure. Thank you, Chick-fil-A. I love them.
My pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure. That's how they sound
funny.
too.
But yeah, I do think this experiment we've been seeing by people that want to like reorder society in a way that we don't want it is failing ultimately. Like I said before, the enemy that you know is far less scarier than the enemy that you don't know. And now that people understand what ESG is, they understand that these are financial incentives motivating companies to take positions that they don't agree with. And kind of the best way to combat that is with your own dollars. Like we have, you know, the ability to reorder society ourselves by just spending our money with companies that align with our values and aren't doing things we find abhorrent.
It's so simple,
Period.
actually. It's
so simple. There's a reason why all of these companies that put up the rainbow profile pictures and all of the Western companies don't in Middle Eastern countries. Like they just don't. And it's because there is an underlying profit incentive for these companies. And if you change that, then they will change with you, which is why Pride Month is so over, at least on the corporate side. But I will say, I don't think Pride Month should be like over in general. I would like it to go back to, you know, a couple of fun parades, family friendly, please.
Yeah, I don't want to see no people getting dog walks, nobody in a thong, no adult toys, nothing.
Olivia, did you see what happened at Joe Biden's Pride Month celebration?
Yes. Not to get explicit, but people were, taking their tops off.
Topless.
Yes. So they were, I guess, topless, making TikToks at the White House, being inappropriate, making, sexually explicit content and videos. And
at a family-friendly event.
At the White House.
Come on.
I miss Trump's White House. Okay, this would have never happened. I'm just
ready for something normal. Yeah. Bring normie nationalism.
Yes.
Bring back the normal people.
I'm a normie nationalist now.
Oh my gosh. I do love the occasional conversation with someone who's radical. They're fun to talk to, but normie nationalism, bring back the normal people. I just want to grill. I miss when that was the thing online. Like there were a bunch of people posting this guy grilling and they're like, I just want to grill, man, as like the centrist.
I just want to grill.
I just want to grill. I don't want to be bothered by
I'm
these
just a girl
things.
who wants to grill.
You know what? Once we're over this whole mess, then we can get back to the things that are actually important. I have literally muted so many words associated with like the whole trans debate because in my mind, I'm decided. I am pretty sure everyone else is, and I'm tired of beating the dead horse. Like,
enough.
Done. I'm over it.
Enough.
I don't want to see anyone's takes on it anymore.
I have Dylan. I have the name Dylan muted on Twitter, even though here I am adding to the Dylan content. But yeah, I just don't want to see any more tweets about it.
Did you see Dylan's new hair?
No.
Wait, look this up.
Okay.
Dylan Mulvaney blonde.
Oh, that's going to be bad.
No, it looks sickening. I'm not going to lie.
In a good way?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
No, wait. Okay, which picture did you see? It looks good.
The one where the brows are also bleached.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't know. I'm just saying I kind of like this look.
That's a really bad wig. That's a wig.
I'm not going to lie.
That's very clearly.
Is it a wig? I realized the other day that I can't tell when people put filters on their pictures, Facetune them, and I can't tell a lot of the time if something's AI.
Or a wig.
So I also can't tell if something's a wig.
That's okay.
I am like the media illiterate person they warned you about.
Yeah, you're going to be like
I
my
literally
grandpa
will fall for any
scrolling on Facebook like, oh my God, Barack Obama needs me to send him $5 right now. Like that's you.
Sometimes I'll be scrolling online and I'll be hanging out with my boyfriend and I'll be like, oh my gosh, babe, did you know this? He's like, where did you see that?
That's literally my mom.
And I was like, I'll be like, on Twitter. I'll be like, Google it. Do the research, Maggie.
That's literally
Confirm.
my mom. She'll send me an article.
By the way, everyone, all the sources we use for this show are legitimate and real.
Yeah, we'll have them in
Not
the
things
description.
found on Twitter.
But that's literally my mom. She'll send me like a CNN article, and she'll be like, "Did you know that it's illegal to say gay in Florida now?" I'm like, "Mom, it's not. It's not." But yeah.
Yeah.
I think this was a great episode to come back with. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe, so by the way, guys, Pride Month continues in October for Atlanta. Maybe I'll go cover the festivities there, see what's up. But Atlanta tends to be more chill about these things.
Which I find hard to believe, but maybe I'll come down there because I didn't want to celebrate Pride up here because it's so crazy and so progressive and stuff. But if there's like normal Pride, just like a cool parade where people are normal, then maybe I will come.
I'm pretty sure they're normal here. Like, I think it is actually family friendly here, which is nice. We love that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's only been I don't know, when did the Supreme Court make gay marriage legal? Like 2014?
2015.
Okay, so yeah, not even 10 years. So, you know, I support, I guess, like celebrating the families, you know, that created. There's like so many more married couples and kids who got adopted because of that. So that seems like something to be prideful about to me. Not the crazy other stuff, but yeah.
Could be cute. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to get canceled by all of my fellow Catholics for...
You would have already been canceled when Sarah came on and a million other things that we talked about.
I know. Yeah. Anyways, this was super fun. Olivia, where can we find you? Are you coming back to Twitter?
Not today. Possibly soon. I will when this comes out to post clips and stuff on socials. But yeah, you can still follow me on Twitter at Rondeau Olivia, on Instagram at Rondeau.Olivia. And I'll keep you guys updated when I decide to come back. It was honestly just like, without getting too much into detail, it was just too much lately. It was too much. I was at the point where I had so many people and words and topics muted, and everybody seemed to be talking about the same thing. And I have loved being disconnected lately. I actually love it so much that I'm scared, because now I'm like, do I need to find a new career or something? Because my job is basically on social media. No. I know I'll go back, but I'm just loving the time off. So it's been nice to disconnect.
Time off is super nice. And like, you can still stay up to date on like the important things and still keep like educating yourself offline. Yeah. Honestly, reading a book is probably better than reading Twitter.
Yeah.
So yeah. And you can find me on Twitter at Liberty Anders. And make sure to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment telling us what we should talk about next. Anyways, see you guys next week. Bye.